Well, first of all, I want to thank all of the media for coming out yesterday and supporting the groundbreaking for the ICT All, the Wichita Advanced Learning Library. I can't remember a time when we had that many people at a groundbreaking for a civic event. The enthusiasm and the excitement yesterday was incredible, and the stories and the coverage that you all provided was greatly appreciated. So, with that said, good morning and welcome. My name is Bryan Frye, and I am the councilperson for District 5, which is far northwest Wichita. Today I get the honor of filling in for the mayor. He has the joy of speaking to a Girl Scout camp this morning, and I think he'd rather be there than here. So I said, we got a variety of things to talk about today. First off, we're going to discuss Eisenhower Air, which is a new newsletter provided by our airport. The city's response to the recent deluge of rains, and an upcoming cybersecurity series. So first off, I want to talk a little bit about Eisenhower Air. You know, it was a little over a year ago that we opened Wichita Dwight D. Eisenhower Airport, and that facility has exceeded all of our projections. It's a great source of pride for our community, and we're doing a lot of proactive things to continue to keep that out in front of the public. One of the things that we just launched is the Wichita Eisenhower National Airport's new e-magazine, and it was just released this week on Tuesday, and you can sign up, and I actually have it on my iPad right here, so you can see it. It's very well done. In it, you will be able to read about inside info, air service updates, and really cool stories from our travelers. We're being very outgoing and supporting, trying to get people to tell us stories about their experience traveling to and from Eisenhower National Airport. It's a very modern piece. We think it's a great complement to the airport itself. And again, just to continue to share the experiences that people are having with our airport and continue to debut new and interesting things. You can find it at flywichita.com, and it will be delivered to your inbox. So it's a very neat piece. I encourage you to check it out. Next thing we want to talk about is our response to the recent rain that we had over the last weekend. And with us today is Alan King from our Public Works Department, and I'd like to have him come up and share some really great things that came out of that, some things that we learned and some advances going forward. So, Alan?
Thank you, Councilmember Frye. My name is Alan King. I'm Director of Public Works and Utilities. Over the weekend, we had about 7 inches of rainfall, in some places actually closer to 9 inches. And so this resulted in some flooding events and some things that we had to work with. Our staff was out during the entire weekend working the flood and mitigating damages. Like many homes in the Wichita area, we had some leaking roofs, and we had some leaking structures, basements particularly. And you may see staff out at some of these sites making repairs and making changes that are necessary that came to our attention as a result of the flood. Several facilities had leaking roofs that need to be fixed. Century 2, the Patrol East Police Substation, Fire Station number 9, Fire Station 15, and the Linwood Greenhouse. There are repairs going on right now. All of the leaks have been mitigated, and we expect that the permanent patches will be in place in 3 to 4 weeks. As far as the stormwater crews were worked throughout the weekend to make sure that curb inlets and storm lines were clear and functioning correctly. We did experience localized flooding in kind of the known areas that we know that we get flooding. The system worked as designed. The amount of flooding was greater than the capacity of the design of those systems, and so we saw some water up on streets. Some streets were closed. Areas like the 13th Street stretch between 119th and 135th, Seneca and Walker, and the Bleckley areas. And those, like I say, are kind of known areas. We put barricades out to keep people from going into those areas, and then the system worked properly, and eventually the flooding subsided, and we pulled the barricades, and the roads are safe to travel again. What we did see, one of the things that helps us with flooding at the river is the big ditch. The big ditch continues to be a real asset for the city, and taking the flows that would normally go outside the banks of the Arkansas River are diverted into the big ditch. And if you get some sort of a sense of what we're talking about, the Arkansas River at peak during the event over the weekend, it was at 12 feet deep. It's presently at 10.6 feet deep, so it's gone down a little bit already. That's at peak 12,000 cubic feet per second. It's now down to about 8,000 cubic feet per second. And to give you some kind of an idea of that 12,000, the maximum flow that the river can even handle is almost 15,000 cubic feet per second. Also, the floodway, like I said, the water was diverted into the floodway. At peak, it was almost 12 feet deep. It's now about under 9 feet deep. We're talking about 88,000 cubic feet per second, but it has a capacity of 45,000 cubic feet per second, which would handle the kinds of flows that you see in a 500-year storm. So the big ditch continues to work and is functioning as an asset for the city. We did see some flooding in certain areas like the Calfskin and Cowskin creeks. Those are kind of known flooding areas. But we did about a $12 million project back in 2012 to improve the drainage in those stretches of the creek, and we did not get any reports of flooding structures. Normally in that kind of a flood event, we would have expected somewhere between 30 and 50 homes in those areas to see some kind of flooding or water getting into structures. And so that's the benefit of some of the investments we've made in our stormwater system in that particular area out by the Cowskin and Calfskin. The water treatment plant, you don't usually think of flooding affecting things like a water treatment plant. We did get some water in some of the structures there, and it got into an electrical, mechanical room, and actually we had some flooding. We were able to pump it down and make repairs and continued to provide safe drinking water in the city. We have an aquifer storage and recovery plant up north where we take water out of the river, treat it, and put it into the ground so that we can take it out sometime in future drought conditions. There was some electrical boxes where the river got so high that those boxes actually went under water. We were able to, as the river subsided, make repairs, and the ASR system is functioning properly. And then one of the things you don't think about maybe is the sewer treatment plant. It had some problems too. It was inundated with the water coming through there, and we have 5 sewer treatment plants. One of them we call our 4 Mile Creek. It actually was overwhelmed with water, and there was no permit violation. Similarly, Plant 1, it actually ran at a flow greater than its design capacity, but it was so diluted, and with the kind of permit that we have with KDHE, even though some sewage was diverted into the river, it was at an amount and at a concentration that does not represent a permit violation for the city. We looked at the sorts of things that we experienced. We always do a hot wash at the end of an event like this. We get some lessons learned, and we'll be doing that and looking how we can become even more flood resilient in the future. And that's my report, sir.
Thank you, Alan. I'm a big fan of Wichita history, so I've gone back and looked at some of the photos before the big ditch was put in and downtown being flooded. Can't even imagine that today. So I think we owe a great bit of gratitude and thanks to those people that designed and created the Wichita Valley Center Floodway Project, because without that, we would be completely underwater. And so thanks again to the staff for continued perseverance and vigilance. It's an ongoing battle, but it's greatly reduced. Finally, we'd like to talk a little bit about cybersecurity. This is an opportunity for small businesses in our community. Protection One, Wichita SCORE, and the Wichita Independent Business Association will sponsor a series of seminars titled Digital Defense, Understanding Small Business Cybersecurity. And these begin Wednesday, July 13th, starting at 8 a.m. at the Wichita Boathouse, and they continue July 20th, July 28th, and August 4th. We have FBI Special Agent Tom Enns, who oversees the cybercrime in Wichita, will be the host. Our Mayor Jeff Longwell will be also speaking at one of the breakfast seminars. You're able to register to attend these on the Protection One website, which is protection1, that's the number one, .com/cyber events. And we do have representatives from Protection One here today if anyone would like to follow up with them afterwards. And so that brings a close to today's media briefing. 3 very different items, but if there's any questions to follow up with, I'm happy to do that at this time.
What
Yes.
overall cost are we, I'm sorry.
I had one on the front row first.
Question for Alan.
Yep, Ellen, come on up.
Obviously, this is the other end of the spectrum from what we were going through a couple of years ago with the drought. Do you have any information on Cheney Lake and how it's doing right now, and also how this is helping the aquifer project, the ASR project?
Yeah, the reservoir is completely full, and then it's actually water is actually in what they call the flood pool, which is extra capacity that the Army Corps of Engineers use to prevent downstream flooding. So there's actually water in the flood pool that will be released slowly over time and get us down to full, a little bit over full. Because we're using so much water out of Cheney, use it before it's lost as a dump. We have been reducing our use of the water in the aquifer, which means that we have nearly record high levels in the aquifer. So as far as water supplies are concerned, we're sitting actually pretty good. And add to that, water use is down for this time of the year. With all the rainfall, fewer people are using irrigation or less irrigation to keep their lawns green. And so we're actually reduced in the amount of water sales that we have.
I just wanted to ask about overall cost of repairs from the flooding this weekend and long-term effects that we are going to have to be dealing with.
Yeah, we have made temporary patches on roofs. Mostly it's roofs. The flooded rooms, what have you, we pumped them down and dried out equipment, inspected it. Not much cost there, just kind of your normal staff time. Where the damage is probably is the roofs that exhibited some leaks. We've got temporary patches on those now. We'll be moving into our permanent patches in about the next 3 or 4 weeks, and we'll actually have some numbers. We're going out to our contractors to get those now. They're not significant costs. They're just there's just a few different buildings that we have to go, and we won't be doing complete re-roofing of facilities. We'll be applying permanent patches, which is typically less expensive.
Anyone else? Hold on, Alan.
And this is just coming from my manager, so I wanted to ask, in regards to the heat that's been going on in the past couple of days, does the city have any heat plan or anything that they're going to do in regards to how hot it is? The city of Houston just unveiled theirs yesterday in regards to just trying to plan to open more shelters and things like that. Is there any plans here in the city of Wichita to do anything like that?
I can comment on the Public Works and Utilities side. The council member or PD may be a better source for how we're helping, say, homeless folks get through the heat. What I can tell you is that the heat is presenting some challenges for our workforce in being out in it and working. And so what we do is during this time of the year, we make sure we remind everybody about what are the best practices to be able to work outside in these sorts of heat. And we monitor our staff. And if we find that we're seeing, in spite of those efforts, that it's causing a problem, we pull people out of the field and reschedule them for cooler times during the day, although we don't seem to be getting any cooler times right now.
I think the forecast actually shows a little bit of a drop, so that's good. One thing I would like to remind citizens is that we do have all of our public pools open, as well as our splash pads. In fact, we just opened up the one in Buffalo Park last week. And the splash pads are a great way to get some relief, and it's free of charge, obviously. certainly, we want to continue to monitor, just like with our public works, all the rest of our staff and make sure that we're not putting them at any extremes and working when they shouldn't be. I think each department has their own plans as well. But as it relates to homeless, and that we work with a lot of different nonprofit organizations in town as well to make sure that we're keeping up to date on what's happening. So it's a continued communication between the different agencies and our staff.
But there's no set plan or anything like that?
I'm not familiar with a specific heat plan. We can check on that and get back to you if there is one, but I don't know of one specifically that addresses just the heat. Anything else? All right, thank you very much.